you. All polling stations will open at 6 a.m. and they will close at 5 p.m. All polling stations will open at 6 a.m. and then close at 5 p.m. I don't know whether we have the graphics ready to put up on air. And then after that, you will be identified electronically with a stamped ballot paper, and that will happen in the course of your time at the polling station. But I'll be taking you through that process later. Let's just focus on the papers right about now. The Daily Nation. What is contained in the Daily Nation today? Who takes it? And it has a picture of both President, or rather, the Deputy President William Ruto and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Ruto versus Raila, worlds apart. William Samoei Ruto, a youthful 55, and on his first presidential campaign, still reduced the vigor of the YK92 era when he made his entry into politics. So still a fresh-faced university graduate at the dawn of multi-partyism, and it is all contained in the Daily Nation, and of course continues to paint the parallels between the Deputy President and Raila Odinga. Uhuru talks to Mount Kenya in last dash broadcast. That was broadcast last night in Kikuyu radio stations and 2 Kikuyu TV stations. President Uhuru Kenyatta's address to the Mount Kenya region, his bedrock of support, and talking to them about his hits and misses during his reign and era as President of the Republic of Kenya for the last 10 years. What Kenyans will be voting for tomorrow is in the Daily Nation, page 2. All the presidential candidates have released their manifestos and spoken about them throughout, so you can be able to sift through them, and those manifestos are still available, so you have not made a decision. If you are one among the undecided, you can still peruse through the manifestos and probably make your decision in the course of it. A tale of two men, how Ruto and Raila have crossed paths for 30 years. I think it details all of the history of the two men and how they have worked together sometime and how they have not worked together in so many times. That story is detailed on the Daily Nation, page 4. And page number 6, you have Ruto, Raila turned to God ahead of Paul yesterday. Both of them were in different services. The Deputy President was the Jesus Teaching Ministry and Donholm, seeking divine intervention, while Raila Odinga and his running mate Mother Karua were the KICC for an interdenominational service and a prayer. And that is how the Daily Nation has covered this election. There's so much, so many more details lined up on the Daily Nation that you can be able to review and have a look at once you purchase the paper. Let's go to the election process as is, or what is expected of you as a voter tomorrow when you wake up very early in the morning to go queue at the polling station. Remember, each and every polling station has 700 voters. Remember, not a polling center, a polling station, 700 voters. That means in the stream that you will be in, you will not be more than 700. That aids the work of counting votes and also aids the process in a major way. So, like I said, the polling stations will open at 6 a.m. and run through to 5 p.m. All polling stations will open at 6 a.m. and run through to 5 p.m. Now, you will be identified electronically with a stamped, with a KIMS kit. You remember, once you get to the polling center, you will place your fingers, all of them, on the KIMS kit, and that's how you are identified biometrically. You will be identified biometrically once you enter the polling station, and that means then you need to carry your identification card, as well as the only thing you need actually is your identification card. If then you don't have your identification card, you can still carry your passport. It depends what document you used to register as a voter. A voter then, after identification using the KIMS kit, will be issued with 6 stamped ballot papers. 6 stamped ballot papers is what you will be issued with by the clerk of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and then you will have the presidential ballot marked in white color. That is, the presidential ballot paper is white in color. The governor ballot is blue in color. The senator ballot is yellow in color. Member of Parliament is pink in color. Woman representative green in color. Member of County Assembly beige in color. And then once you have them, you will go to a secret booth where you will mark against your favorite candidates by either ticking or putting an X mark against the candidate that you want to elect. And there is a box provided for. So your tick or X must be inside that box. The tick or X must be inside that ballot box. And once you have marked against your candidates, that's the 6 of them, you will go to the ballot boxes. The ballot boxes have colors corresponding to the ballot that you have. The lids of those ballot boxes have colors that correspond with the ballot you have. For example, the pink lid means then that is the ballot box of the member of National Assembly, and it is also indicated there. It is also indicated on that ballot box that this is the ballot box for the member of the National Assembly. Once that is done, and you have done that, you only need to go to the clerk after you have been able to cast your ballot for the marking of indelible ink, which is either done on your small finger or this space between the middle finger and the index finger. And once that is done, you exit the polling station. The next time you see is in the next election. You wait outside the polling station and preferably at home for the results to be tallied, and you get those results. So Victor, that is how that is as far as it goes in terms of exercising your right tomorrow as a voter.
Very well. On the front page of the Standard, why Kenya needs you. Why Kenya needs you. Tomorrow, Wananchi will brave long queues to elect the country's 5th president and other leaders. There has never been a better time for Kenyans to demonstrate their civic duty to vote. Now that is what's on the front page of the Standard newspaper. Leaders turn to prayers a day to the election. We have got pictures here of Azimio flag bearer Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua, where they had their prayer yesterday at the KICC, as well as UDA presidential candidate William Ruto with Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja during a prayer church service at Jesus Teaching Ministry in Donholm in Nairobi. That is on what's on the front page of the Standard here. And of course, Kiore, you've given that breakdown on how elections will be done, which was also conducted by IBC, the simulation. It will not be mandatory, according to the Standard, it will not be mandatory to cast ballot for all 6 elective posts. Now, the reason is unused ballot papers will be dropped in the respective boxes and counted as rejected in the final tally. And the presiding officers will submit updates to the returning officer on the turnout in their polling stations. So the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IBC, has changed regulations, and it will not now be mandatory for a voter to cast all the 6 ballot papers handed to them once they walk into a polling station. This emerged yesterday during a voting simulation exercise conducted by IBC. Now, the decision seeks to cure one of the most complicated legal issues that played out at the Supreme Court in 2017, where and contributed to the nullification of the presidential results. Now, according to the details provided during the simulation, it is now a legal requirement that the voter must be handed the 6 ballot papers once he or she walks into the polling station. So that is what's there. So that, remember, the CJ asked what happens to the rejected votes or ballots during the 2017 presidential case hearing. And there was a back and forth as to where those papers would be taken to, whether they would be counted or not. And now it's now mandatory for every voter to get all the 6 ballot papers. All right. So according to the paper here, clerics urge leaders, Kenyans, to shun violence and accept poll results. Clerics urge leaders to shun violence and accept poll results. Clergy advise leaders who will lose not to resort to violence, but to go to court. I think that's in order. We can never, ever emphasize about that. That is just that. All right, this is not a vote for your favorite candidate. This is a vote for Kenya. More of an opinion here, and an interesting read for you to take a look at is a full page read here, so that you can take a look why this is not a vote for your favorite candidate, but it's about Kenya. You can take a look at that. Of course, we are also looking at Raila dedicates nation to God in a solemn prayer, as well as Ruto come out in numbers and vote peacefully. We have got 2 pages here of different leaders. Yesterday, they, went to church. Finally, somebody said that after all is said and done, one person will reign supreme, God. And that is the way to go. As I give it back to you, Kyoria. Yes. Atudonyang jet back 3 days to the election. This Kanu governor candidate, Nicholas Atudonyang, jetted into the country on Saturday, only 3 days before the election. Atudonyang is a US-based doctor who was elected as Governor John Lonyangapuo's deputy in 2017. There has been back and forth about his presence or his whereabouts. And now he's back.
Paul Atudonyang is an interesting character to me in so many ways, because since 2017, the election of 2017, I think he has appeared in West Pokot for very few counted times. The structure of that and how he took up that position, knowing very well that he has other responsibilities in the United States of America, is what baffles me. But I also look at that situation as well choreographed, because think about it. Lonyangapuo has had his run in West Pokot without interruption or probably any headache from his deputy. Yeah. So sometimes I think it's